To understand the inner link between the death of tzaddikim and the smashing of the luchot, we will first need to look at an interesting anomaly with respect to the Shivrei Luchot. In Shemot 32 we are told that Vayar et ha'egel u'mecholot, that when Moshe, returning with the first set of luchot and is about to enter the camp, he sees the egel and the dancing, and Vayicharaf Moshe, Moshe becomes exceptionally angry. This causes him to Vayashlach miyadav et ha'luchot, throwing the luchot from his hands, Vayishaber otam tachat hahar, at the foot of the mountain he smashes them. We are then told in Pasuk 20 that he takes the egel which they had made, melting it down in fire, and I assume when the metal had cooled, ground the metal down to a fine powder. Vayazer al panei hamayim, he then sprinkles the fine powder over the drinking water, in other words mixing the fine powder with the water supply, and vayashket bnei Israel, forcing the bnei Israel to drink from this mixture. The Chumash is silent as to what happened with the Shivrei Luchot. It would be fair to assume that somebody, either Moshe, Yehoshua, or somebody else, went back to pick up the pieces, whether there were 2, 5, 10, 100, and brought them back into the camp. What we do know comes from Midrashic literature, which points to the fact that the Shivrei Luchot were generally placed in close proximity to the second set of Luchot. According to the Bavli, both sets of Luchot, it seems, were placed into a single aron. There is an alternative view presented in the Yerushalmi, Shkalim Perek Vav Halacha Aleph, one that is reflected in a commentary by Rashi that we will shortly look at, that raises the prospect of a second aron. One aron contained the Shivrei Luchot, while the other contained the second set of the Aseret HaDibrot. Tani Rabbi Yehuda ben Lakish, Resh Lakish, taught that Beit Aronot Hayu Mahalchim Im Yisrael Bamidbar, that while the Jews were in the Medbar, there were 2 aronot. Echad shehaita haTorah netuna betocha. In one, the Torah, which in all probability refers to the Sefer Torah plus the second set of luchot, were placed. Ve'echad shehayu shivrei haluchot netunim betocha. The other aron contained the Shivrei Luchot. Zeh shehaita haTorah netuna betocha, the first aron, containing the second Luchot and the Sefer Torah, haya munach ba'ohel moed, remained permanently in the Ohel Moed. Hadahu d'chtiv, we find a reference to that aron that states V'aron Brit Hashem Moshe lo mashu mekerev hamachaneh. It's an interesting source in that it deals with the rebellion of the Ma'apilim, who despite warnings against doing so, proceeded into Eretz Canaan against the wishes of Moshe and were thoroughly defeated by the Amalekites. In connection to the Ma'apilim, the Pasuk states that the Aron Brit Hashem, or Moshe, and the Aron did not mashu, move Mikerev HaMachaneh, from the camp. On the other hand, Zeh Shahayu Shivrei Luchot Netunim Betocho, the Aron containing the Shivrei Luchot, Haya Nichnas V'yotze Imahen, was brought in and brought out from the Ohel Moed, Upamim Shahaya Mitra'eh Mahem, and at times was to be located amongst the people. Regarding the positions mentioned earlier, wherewith it appears that there is a machloket between the Yerushalmi, 2 aronot, and the Bavli, a single aron, it may be worth noting that, according to footnote number 3, the Rebbe suggests that there is no need to be bound by a machloket. In that footnote he opens with a series of sources that refer to the existence of 2 aronot, ranging from the Rashi, Tosfot and Eruvin, Botenu Bali HaTosfot, the Sifri, the view of the Yerushalmi, quoting the position of Resh Lakish, a Tosefta, and other sources. But then the footnote goes on to maintain that she'ein ze stira, that all of the sources mentioned earlier are not necessarily in conflict. Lahaman de Amar in Baba Batra, with the position recorded in Baba Batra, de Luchot v'Shivrei haluchot munachim ba'aron, were both placed into the aron. The footnote does not go on to explain why there is no machloket. This is left to the reader to peruse the various sources regarding this matter.